All right, I think we're finally ready. I think everything's good. Let me make sure. Yep, that's doing well. I still think it's funny that this screen at the bottom has the YouTube play bar because it was a screen grab. I actually know where to find this image now. I should probably go get the actual image from the guy's site. I forget which artist did all the reconcepting of Orson. Amazing art, though. I think I used part of it in last stream's thumbnail. Yeah. I love this art. I think this art actually outdoes what we have in Orson right now. So, interesting. So that's up. This should be up. Please tell me that's not what it actually is. Is it broken? No, it's just behind. I see. Got it. Okay. We're good. We're here. We're good. Everything's good. Assuming everything's correct? I don't know. Right. Okay, so it looks like we're good. So we're going to begin. So, where we left off was halfway through. Well, about halfway through. 45 minutes into the shaping the vert, the future of StarEngine. So let's get switched over to the desktop mode. And let me know how that looks, because I've tweaked some things and I don't know if OBS is going to compensate for it. So we shall see. So we're going to start off with the Starcloth talk. And then we'll be, let's see, Starcloth, Starhair, and Maelstrom Destruction feature with Chris Rain and others. Then we have audio enhancements and persistent entity streaming, replication layer server meshing with Paul Rindale and others. So that's what we're going to get through today. Hopefully we'll get through all of it, and I would love to say we get on to the next panel, but we're probably going to end after we get through all of this, assuming we don't get to it in the next... Yeah, 30 minutes. I don't know how you do that. But anyway, let us stop the music and we will get on to actually talking about the panel.
Hello, everyone. Hi. I am Chris Rain, and I would like to show you not one, not two, but 3 new physics of our physics engine. And I would like to start off by introducing StarCloth, our new character cloth simulation with a short video. So this is just regular player movement. That was actually me playing. You can see the cloth collides with the ground.
It's really good physics. There's
multiple
just
layers
good physics
of cloth that do not interpenetrate. Cloth gets influenced from wind and has accurate collisions with the player's body.
It's weird how like the little fanfare there was here.
We now have support for collisions from dynamic objects. You can play football in any outfit.
I don't know why they spent so long on this clip. This is hardly remarkable.
The full range
it really
of motion
bears a question why. Excuse me. Why has this not been done before? So, biggest thing that the reason a lot of Star Citizen features hasn't been done before is budget and time. Your budget dictates what you can get done in the amount of time that you've been allotted. Star Citizen currently has infinite time and infinite budget. I swapped those two. So they can do anything, anywhere, and just throw time and money at it. They also start out with a crazy physics simulation ready engine. So starting with the basics of Crysis and CryEngine, they were already thinking in the direction of super high detailed sim-like elements. In a game like, let's say, City Skylines, well, you could feasibly say, eventually, if they had infinite money and infinite time and the drive to do so, they could make clothing on their NPCs be this dynamic. But again, they don't have the time nor the budget to focus on a detail that you'll see maybe 1% of the time. And it wouldn't even make sense for a game like City Skylines. So let's say an FPS game. Let's say the next Battlefront or Call of Duty, Battlefield or Call of Duty game. Why wouldn't they have physics that are this impactful? Or Assassin's Creed or whatnot. Assassin's Creed, I think, would be a pretty good one. Why wouldn't Assassin's Creed do this one? Well, Assassin's Creed is by Ubisoft, and they have a very strict timeline and budget for each of their titles. If given the right budget and the right amount of time, they could probably do this. It takes a lot of... And this is a very early prototype. Like, this kind of stuff could have been tested in some form in all of these games, in Battlefront, in City Skyline, probably not, in Assassin's Creed, and it just didn't make it to the level, and they didn't have much time to work on it or enough budget to allot their own time. Most games, except for like the Call-Out few, Destiny, World of Warcraft, that are able to stay on the same game after release, get a whole bunch of stuff and then cut a whole bunch of stuff before they release the game, and they're never allowed to go back and work on those old stuff. You have to be able to basically just remove all that from the game, launch that product, and then you're on to either the next IP, or for a lucky few studios, they get to continue with the next in the series. And normally when you get enough series down, you are able to work in a lot of those technologies that you've been working on throughout the entire franchise. Take, for instance, Baldur's Gate 3. They worked on a ton of tech through their entire library, and it all culminated in Baldur's Gate 3. A lot of what Star Citizen, a lot of what was shown at CitizenCon, the physics, the server meshing, the ray tracing, is very new technology. Like the paper they cited for the ray tracing demo, has only been out a few years, I think. I haven't read it. I don't actually know the release date on it, but it's since ray tracing has become in the public's mind, it wasn't this isn't a 90s level ray tracing demo. This kind of technology, these sciences in graphics engineering, is on the cutting. They are the cutting edge right now of these kind of physics simulations and these graphics improvements. And we're going to also look at sound and network engineering. Like, they're not doing what every game like is in their genre, or even they don't have like not the ambition, because that kind of sells other devs short. I'm not trying to do that, but they don't have the necessity to be that forward focused. Like, these are the stuff they're getting to do, the stuff that other devs do as a hobby on the side. That's the kind of stuff that is that paper even a few years old? I thought it was like don't quote me on that. I mean, let's look it up. What was it called? Yes, I have two of these windows, so we can look up stuff now. So yeah, we're here. Where was the ray tracing one? That was this one. Now, which... Okay, AMD GI 1.0. AMD GI 1.0. Does it have a release? 2022. It's October 2022. So it's a year. It's 1 year old. Yeah, that's even newer than I thought it was going to be. Jeez. Well done, AMD, and well done CIG for like saying we're doing this now. This is what we're doing now. Less than 2, yeah. Bang. That is almost unheard of. Like if you follow like 2 Minute Papers on YouTube, he'll talk a lot about like the bleeding edge of graphic simulation and things, and he'll say, well, how long? Sometimes when he's talking about all these technologies, he'll say, from the viewer's point of view, like, okay, but how long to actually see this in game? And normally it's like a year or two, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, because we have to wait for all the projects that are being done now to be finished, and then start scoping for the next project. Because most games, like I said, time and budget, will scope at the beginning of the project and not be able to go too far outside of that scope to finish the project, and then they can rescope for the next game and then put that game forward. Star Citizen, again, is one of those weird projects that has infinite time and money. It would be nice, like many more good designers and good studios need time to build their Star Citizens. Not like clones of Star Citizen, but like if you were to give Will Wright, assuming he's not doing NFTs, infinite time and budget, what could he make? If you were to give Kojima infinite time and money, what would he make? And I know those are just specifically 2 other designers, but and this is just a prototype. Like both the ray tracing stuff and this stuff is all prototypical. Is that how I don't even know how you say it. I think more teams, more designers. I think Hytale is another one where they've been given basically infinite time and budget after being acquired by Riot. I would assume so, because if Riot's anywhere near intelligent with any of their games, which it's very proven that they are intelligent with how they can make games be big, then they know what a Minecraft clone / competitor / dethroner of killer of Minecraft can do. And if it's not perfect when it comes out, it is going to turn away a lot of specific people that don't want to care for. If it's not the game that people are assuming it's going to be, then they're going to lose a large audience now, and it will take an entire generation to get that back. And Hytale is such a weird case of a game because it is literally coming in to dethrone a king. Like Star Citizen, and specifically Squadron 42, is coming in to dethrone Wing Commander, which I think his last one was like in 2003 or something. Like it's the game that's trying to dethrone has been dead a while, so it's just assuming the throne. Star Citizen, there's no competitor for that, and a lot of games, there's no direct competitor. So. Back to this panel. Yeah, sorry. And the end of clipping and tunneling has got me right up there in terms of software engineering, research, and game design. Yeah, okay. So we're gonna watch more of the panel. That as minute and nuanced as this entire panel was, this is cost simulation in games is one of those things that gives even a static environment life. And like you can say like, well, damage the environment or have NPCs moving around. If you just go stand in ArtCorp, right, in the plaza, there will be NPCs moving around, but it doesn't feel alive. If you stand in Orison and watch the flags move around, it feels like there's a breeze. It feels like it's moving. That may be just me, but cost simulation is really high up there on the giving a environment life.
From fast movement to extreme poses. StarCloth is designed to be a first-class member of our physics engine. It interacts with everything we have to offer, from character movement over forces like wind, thruster backwash, explosion, to projectile impacts and collisions.
So they're doing a lot of the same physics interactions that water's doing, which is just perfect. Like, imagine. I wonder. Oh, I wonder if they can, hitting my mic. I wonder if you can make a piece of cloth float on water. I have no idea how I would even test that because they don't have fabrics that you can like place in world. Because it's the same. It's same kind of like all physics interactions, like including forces like wind and thrusters. Very, very good. Realistic simulation of fabrics and clothing, firmly enabled in our physics simulation, or firmly embedded. Sorry, firmly embedded in our physics simulation. Efficient, immersive, and believable in high fidelity. Gotta get the fidelity in there.
It's efficient. It always updates at 120 FPS, regardless of the frame rate, and is hand optimized. It's immersive and believable. It's a realistic simulation based.
And they're gonna talk more about that in a minute. The how it always updates at 120 frames. But I think that's amazing to have the physics simulation, regardless of what your frame rate is actually running at. It will continue to run the simulation in spite of your frame rate. And we'll get back to what they do with that information.
On physical properties. It's high fidelity, high quality. We want to raise the bar with this. The visual geometry you see on the right is complex and not suitable for simulation. The visual geometry is made with visual quality in mind, and that does not translate well to simulation. So we decided to add the ability to use bespoke meshes that are made to simulate well and let their movement then deform the visual geometry. This allows us to share the same sim setup across multiple visual meshes, which is a huge productivity boost for tech art. We can seamlessly...
So I forgot his name. Watch Dogs 1 Trenchcoat Wen. Yeah, I was going to ask about the 120 frames. How do you do that without melting graphics card? It seems like they said it actually better for the GPU. So it's running the calculations, it's doing the math, and that's all it is moving numbers. And it's doing it consistently instead of, okay, run them all now, and now, and now. It's saying, this is just your stuff. Just continue doing this stuff. And then they'll look at that every time they have a frame. So they'll be like, what's the last 3 frames? Okay. Average that. There's your simulation. And they, with the expressed purpose, or not purpose, but the expressed additive of being hand optimized. So this isn't like they're simulating everything everywhere all at the same time. They're saying, okay, these are the things we're simulating. And like this slide explains, like they're not simulating, the strands of the coat and the things. They're saying, okay, this is the basic form of what we need to be affected by the simulation. So that's the numbers that it's crunching. And GPUs are purpose-built to run physics calculations. It is the kind of simulation that runs perfectly on GPUs. So stuff like, physics calculations, simulation stuff that include physics. So one of the things they did back when they built GPU particles for the game was they were able to basically for free get particles, like engine particles, I don't know how to explain a game's particles. I assume you know what a particle is in game, but basically like little bits of effects like sparks and things hitting things. And they were able to say, well, since we're running this on the GPU is built for physics, so just add physics to particles. Now it can like hit things and bounce off them. Or the soda particles in the plaza in Area 18, they can now bounce off the character. I don't know if that's still enabled, but it was back when they built it. Because physics on the GPU is insanely efficient. And I don't know the depth of this. This is like getting to way more engineering than I know how to explain on how exactly they do it. But those are like the high level things they can do because it's consistent and it's highly optimized.
We blend the simulation on and off, so we can disable the simulation at a distance.
That is amazing to hear. That they can just like they can LOD out cloth simulation, which means you can be right standing next to someone and see all their clothing moving with the wind and with their movements, but somebody like 50 feet away, you're not really gonna notice their trench coat moving in the wind or whatnot. So that just you don't see that physics. So you only see the physics simulating in a very specific area around you. I wonder if that's I wonder what kind of things the designers will have to say. Hey, you can see like a giant flag in the distance, and that will have to move longer away than every character's clothing.
Back to the football. Everything that is dynamically simulated is able to interact with the cloth, from ships over crates, boxes, and even footballs. We ensured that the collisions are accurate and believable. As you can see in the image, the football parts both layers of the gown. The cloth itself supports self-collisions, which means it will create folds and wrinkles, but not interpenetrate itself or other layers of cloth.
Which is absolutely amazing.
The same applies to the static environment as well. The cloth will drape itself around the environment. So brushing up against objects will result in the behavior.
That fold right there just looks just unreal as far as like cloth simulation goes. Like that looks, the Play-Doh-y self it looks like, because it looks like it's being like held up by itself and not actually just using the weight of itself to curl over. But this one over here looks real good.
You expect. We added tapered capsules to improve collision detection accuracy. A tapered capsule is a capsule which has two different radii at the endpoints.
Radii.
Human anatomy is complex, and we need to accurately represent it for collisions. The traditional capsules we use on our ragdolls lead to jumps in the collision surface. Now, notice how there is a jump between the elbow and the lower arm, and another jump where the forearm connects to the hands. These jumps pose significant problems for our cloth simulation. If you look at the upper torso, you can see the collision proxies are actually completely hiding the cloth, and they're essentially completely useless. So now notice the difference on the same body represented with tapered capsules. We can now faithfully represent the hips, legs, and arms of the character.
I wonder if the taper capsule thing was another paper they read. There we go. Or is it someone in the office thought of this solution, because it is so simple yet so meaningful for the cloth simulation. I was watching this stuff with my mouth wide open. It's one of those things where the majority of people get how significant this stuff is. It's one of those things where the majority of people get how significant this stuff is. Most people just think it's about this kind of stuff. I don't know how to. It doesn't come from a paper. If it doesn't come from a paper, they should write. I don't know how many they've said, but I know somebody in the office has written papers about stuff, at least one. But this is what happens when you have this nexus of talent, and basically you say, we want to be, here's us, here's next gen, we want to be here, so way farther than next gen, and we are going to let you play with whatever you want to make it happen. Let's see. And so this was like back in 2016 demo. How can we get there? I don't want to screw with you yet. We'll do this one. No, not podcast. Play us. The 2016 demo. That's 8/16 Gamescom. Yeah, I think it's that one. No, don't play that. Shush. We'll get there later. Oh, that was the Lear demo, not 2016, 2017. Gamescom. That's 18. Where is CitizenCon 2017? That would be here. I have been quoting wrong every. What year was the Microtech demo? '19? And 18? No. Yeah, this was a big pirate one. 18? Is it just really badly split up?
There we go.
Now it's Hurst. I'm so confused here. That was. Oh, they rejiggered all their stuff. Okay, so I might be just being dumb here. Because I know. Yeah, it's 2019. It's 2019 because that was the one that was split up into two. I believe it was the first part. Yeah, so there's this right here. Got stuck at the geometry. Okay, and then there was in this one. There was the part about the Ursa. Somewhere around there. Nope, not there. Oh, it is there.
Story. Okay, so here's
There we
our rover, which we've hidden with the little tarp, and this is going to be a much more larger example of the cloth interaction system. So, all right, Glenn, let's get the tarp off and get into the rover.
So they've been working on this for a minute. And then they had. I love how they just absolutely did not name these. Well, ship sound, shoot 'em up, building a dynamic universe. I think it was probably in that one. Nope, that was just Tony Z. That was literally all Tony Z. Okay, never mind. It's not dynamic universe. Micro technicalities? I don't know. It's all stations. That's all look and feel of Stanton and how we're changing everything. I'll look at Microtech, which we got like 6 months later. It's so pretty, though. It's so freaking pretty. I don't think it's reached its final form yet, but it's still so pretty. So that's all about Microtech. Scene linguistics. Cause and effects? I don't know which one it was in. I know they talked about the physics simulation. Oh, that's the cosplay one. I just don't remember where it was. And this was all about planets. I honestly, like... They set this year's System up really well. I have no idea where it is. I'll have to find that some other day. here.
An additional benefit of tapered capsules is that the collision detection is significantly faster than with regular capsules. Currently, we're only using them for cloth collision detection, but in the end, we'd like to use them for everything. We simulate the cloth always at 120 FPS or 120 Hertz, regardless at which update rate the game is running at. We do this to be faithfully able to detect collisions with a fast-moving character. As we're simulating at a higher rate than the game updates, we have to interpolate the joint positions between updates we get from the game. At each simulation step, we perform collision detection, simulation, and update the cloth sim cage. Now, if the game is running at 120 FPS, we do one update for the cloth simulation. If the game updates at 60 FPS, like in the image, we simulate the cloth twice. Now, if the game runs slower, like at 30 FPS, we need to update the cloth 4 times. You can see this in the image. It becomes apparent that we need to make the cloth run as fast as possible, and we spent a great deal of amount of time optimizing this with various techniques, including handwritten vectorization and using every trick in the optimization handbook. The effort pays off because we can faithfully capture very complex movement and fast-moving characters, even at low frame rates, without any clipping or tunneling.
So one of the things he mentioned right there is that one of the reasons they're running it so fast is not to make it run faster, but it's because to get the latest update in the frame you need it, they need to make sure that that last update was not too long ago. Say if you were running at 30 FPS, then if you were running a physics simulation at that, you would have these giant jumps in simulation where the difference between frames would be so much that you would have some weird simulation going on. So they have to update as fast as possible so that last simulation step wasn't too far behind your current frame step. So that every time the physics will update consistently, so there's no jumping or popping around with the cloth, and you probably see that in game now. Like if you're running, the cloth will just pop off in some random direction, and then they can just interpolate that forward into whenever the frame actually hits. And because it is a effect of already being optimized, they're already well within their lane of compute cost, that they can just run it at. Like the rest of the teams can catch up with them because they're the ones overly optimizing their corner of the game.
Thank you. One area that poses a significant challenge for character cloth is when multiple pieces of garments layer on top of each other, like a tight-fitting jacket that lies on top of the pants, as you can see in the image above. This is a very difficult region to simulate properly because you don't have much space and the simulation collisions have to be absolutely accurate. This, what I'm going to show you, is a very subtle effect, but once you notice it, you cannot stop noticing it. I want to focus your attention to the waist region of the character. Here we tweak the simulation settings in real time to
Blending, resistance, dampening, length, stretch, length, compress. I don't know what that was. Shear YK, stretch, compress K, bend XK, bend YK, bend, compress. Crosserat is what all these say. Compress K, IRA K, max displacement K, max stretch IRA or LRA, tetra vol K, collision gap, collision thickness, static friction, dynamic friction, C drag, C lift, total mass, delta scale, blending, offset, and plastic deformation threshold. Is what all of these say.
See the effect. Here you see a rendering with a high fidelity cloth disabled.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say because right here it's clipping straight into his leg. Like it's just straight clipping into his leg.
Here you see a rendering with a high fidelity.
Cross-rat rod is something that he mentions later. I don't know what they are. Okay, we'll figure it out together.
Cloth disabled.
And it's just,
And
it's
here,
so
the same
good.
scene with it enabled.
It's just so good. And those RSI chairs just look so good too.
To be continued, tomorrow much more can be seen about Starcloth in the character advancement panel. Be sure not to miss out.
Obviously, K is some kind of constant. I can just rewind so I can see again the demonstration or the variables. Okay, so it's X, Y, X, Y. I get an old window. Okay. I want to check something real quick. New. Why does it? Why does Windows pull up like random things when you do this? Can I grab this window, please? Hello? I don't know. Okay, so what I want to check is
See the effect.
when he moves his mouse. Okay, so he was at blending K. Blending resistance, expected value, default 1. Anything above can lead to instabilities. So I guess, yeah, it's just a constant 1. Maybe? Unless it's just a naming thing that puts in the right folder. K is kind of a particular variable that can be that they are manipulating. Huh. It's just interesting that some have the K, some don't have K. But it's all naming, so it's who knows.
Here you see a rendering with a high fidelity cloth disabled. And here the same scene with it enabled.
Yeah, it's by no means perfect, but it's far better.
To be continued, tomorrow. Rendering with a high fidelity. Here you see a rendering with a high fidelity cloth disabled. And here the same scene with it enabled.
Interesting, the wrinkles on his arm don't move at all. They don't stretch out at all.
To be continued, tomorrow much more can be seen about Starcloth in the character advancement panel. Be sure not to miss out.
We going through that one in a high Hi, what is it? Going through that panel as well in a fine tooth comb. There we go. Fine tooth comb. High tooth comb is what I was trying to say. Fine tooth comb.
So, next up, star hair.
Love the physics, guys.
Currently, we have the ability to simulate the effect of moving hair with joints that are essentially simulated pendulums. The hair is skinned to these joints, and when these joints move due to the pendulum simulation, the hair moves with it. This leads to a fast and believable movement of hair. However, the quality is directly correlated to the quality of the skinning, which is tedious for tech art to achieve for some complex hairstyles. Further, apart from gravity...
Like watching this live, I was just like, okay, so they have new hair simulation. Like, and as the panel went on, like I got more and more impressed with what kind of crap they were doing, to like where they were like worked out like the thickness of each strand and like how they're going to simulate everything and how they're drawing everything, and now they're doing bunches of hair per simulation strand. It's just like, what are they feeding these people? It's ridiculous. Most people didn't get the significance. My only question, it proves exactly how much I was paying attention. My only question was this, was when somebody has a specific hairstyle, haircut, hair done specifically a certain way, and they hit a windstorm, their hair does not snap back to that hairstyle they had. So is hairstyle degradation going to be a thing? Or is there some elasticity in the simulation that will bring your hair back to a style of hair? That was my question. So does it kind of return to its which hairstyle you chose? Or are we going to have to go to the barber every once in a while to fix our hair? Or the mirror or the vanity, whatever it is in game. Like, give us a hair station. I would totally be here for that. Having your hairstyle kind of like degrade as for a while. Again, my mouth was just hanging up and people cheering because it looked good. It was thinking how they did this mathematically, and it seems it is so much more performant for the GPU, as a much more detailed simulation as possible. Yeah, it's just it's like this was not the panel for everyone. This was the panel, and just because you're talking about, I assume you too. This was the panel for us guys. Like, it's the people who are, well, at least I am like very kind of like in the middle of average consumer and engineer. I'm a terrible coder, but I know a lot of I've seen a lot of the engineering kind of side of stuff. Like, it's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. These guys are just magicians. Engineers and tech are tech. Yeah, engineers and tech artists are just mad people. They just are amazing, talented people.
Pendulum joints do not react to external forces like collisions or wind or explosions. So we asked ourselves, can we somehow improve upon this? And I'd like to show you some early prototype results of our research. This is an image of the raw geometry you saw in the previous image. You can see many strands of hair, and we thought to ourselves, maybe we can simulate all of these strands. This is a single strand isolated from the rest. As these are simple triangle meshes, we initially thought we could simply use our cloth
hairdressers
simulation.
Yep. And the way they build the hair, the way they described it, it was almost like they were styling the hair like a hairdresser. Yeah, hairdressers. Like, that's just every time the tech guys, whether it be tech art or engineering, come back with like, hey, we found a solution result, it just opens the door to so many more things that are possible just from this, like, we figured out how to do hair. I want to see if they apply this hair tech to the Yeti from Microtech. I forget what they're called. Boreal Stalker. That'd be so cool. And when they And when I saw the Afro hairstyle at the end, I was very impressed. Yeah, it's just so impressive. Like everything in here. It's amazing.
And simulate such a strand like a sheet of cloth. That didn't work out at all. It turns out hair does not behave like clothing. Also, the sheer number of strands and their individual triangles and vertices are simply too much to simulate efficiently, even for our highly optimized cloth engine. We realized then that our artists are actually using splines to create these strands. And a spline is a smooth curve or line through space. You could see that in yellow. And we thought maybe we can just simulate these. They're much simpler. So, and hair simulations need to be able to maintain the original hairstyle. You cannot have the hair simulation change the visual appearance of a character. One of the reasons why using the cloth simulation for hair did not work out at all is that the cloth only simulates vertices and they have no concept of orientation. So you do not know how the next segment has bent in relation to your current segment. In other words, you cannot easily simulate twist with vertices alone. For splines, however, that is very easy to do. So
that's what it was like. They're going to sell this stuff. Think about VR simulation for training military personnel. You know, think the U.S. military won't dump billions on their doorstep for better training simulations for infantry pilots. I mean, I'm pretty sure they use Microsoft Flight Sim for flight training right now. And they have some other video game middle sim for field up. But yeah, like Brian Chambers said, there's no current plan to sell any of their tech to outside companies. Which is, on one hand, oh, but you're losing out money. But the other side, like, the amount of personnel they would have to hire to maintain this other stuff instead of just using it, because they built it to use in-house. So it's more efficient for them to use it in-house than to sell it outside. They could absolutely make just buckets of money on this stuff. Absolutely, I have no doubt. And VR is coming soon, so it is probably one of the things we'll start hearing about around the time ray tracing goes into the game. So I'm super psyched for that. I know there is a YouTuber out there that's done all the hard work to actually make it work in game right now, but there will be a native support for it soon. Well, soon, within the next 2 years.
all of this together allows us to simulate the strands according to the theory of Kosarat rods. A Kosarat rod allows you to model the behavior of slender one-dimensional rods, exactly what our splines are, and simulate bend, twist, stretch, and shear, exactly what we need.
Soon, Tim, yeah.
Hair also needs exact collision detection to not intersect with the head, the ears, the cheeks, the jaw region. The video I'm about to show you
Corset
is
rods,
some very early prototype
yes.
footage of how such a simulation actually looks like.
Interesting.
So this is a test of various head movements to see how the hair reacts.
Now
That simulation is
imagine this when you have a VR person in that. Like, I fully believe that they will do as much tracking as possible for their VR people, because even for the non-VR people, and I've played with what is the mod? The Vivecraft mod. And there's a non-VR client mod that you can actually give to your friends that don't play VR. And they can see your movements in VR on your character, even though they're not using the same mod. They're just using basically the animation engine to make sure they can see how you're animating. So I fully believe that CIG should and will do that. So where you're looking, where you're moving your arms, and kind of like the exact position of your character, even though you're animating it in first person, which is more first person than anything because you're in VR, you are the person. And that would be so cool to look down at your hands and your arms, just your clothing, and see yourself as your character is, and you put on the clothes that your character in game has. Like the controls are in front of you. I cannot wait for this game in VR. Like, this is going to be one of the most advanced VR games. The most advanced VR game when they just start to add it in. Do I expect it will run like crap? Yes, I do. Do I expect it to be the most awesome VR game? Yes, I do. It sounds like they almost came across it by accident, by how he's speaking. Yeah. I don't know. That one I don't know about.
One of the hardest things to simulate, especially in a real-time context, and very tricky to get right. We're actually simulating all the hair strands. So we will have characters being able to run their hands through their hair and have the hair react realistically.
But it's a physics, not a graphics one.
Simulation next. Actually, being a bald man, this was a very touching moment for me when I made this video.
Oh, Nightbot, shut up.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, it's... I think Star Citizen and CIG is going to... I think right up there with Unreal Engine. Because I think the stuff Unreal Engine is doing is also changing the landscape of gaming in the future. And they're kind of all on this road to, and don't hate me for saying this, but metaverse stuff, because they're moving to a place where you can simulate everything. You can have these interactions at full detail in VR. And these devs and engineers are finding ways to optimize or to find different solutions for high graphics, high fidelity, high simulation within these worlds that can run on modern-ish hardware and will run well on next-gen hardware. And with Lumen and... what's the other thing that they have? Nanite over on the Unreal Engine side, and we have the AMD paper and all this physics simulation on Star Citizen. Like, they are not necessarily working in the same veins, but they're working on these items that can be very world building in the future. It's insane to see, and like, it doesn't take away at all from like artsy indie things. It just means that when somebody comes around to say, I want to build, you know, a high fidelity, super graphic, super simulation heavy game, it means these other companies have moved it so far forward that they can take advantage of the pathfinding that they've already done. And it makes everything better. The farther the bleeding edge companies go, the easier it is for the companies that come in later to be better, because the companies that are on the bleeding edge already did the hard work of finding out what the best solution was. And then, you know, game companies like Blizzard, EA, and Ubisoft can just take what they are seeing, whether it's from the company or just trying to parody the tech that they've run into. It makes their games better. And it may or may not be even better than the original. And it's just so cool to see. It's very cool to see.
Next, I would like to introduce Maelstrom, our physically based destruction system. And I would like to do that with a video that I believe speaks for itself.
So there's still love research. Yep. And I think there should be like some kind of like a Nobel kind of committee somewhere that gives companies that are willing to do the research some sort of like grant. Because, and like, super altruistic thing to do, but I think it should be done. Like, even if EA and all their money grabbing crap that they do, if they said, hey, we'd like to research a way to make, you know, the FIFA or Madden characters look more realistic, look more true to life as you're playing it, like whether it's facial animations or skin textures or whatever, and they can convince whatever this committee would be to say, we're not trying, we want to go far beyond what, you know, MetaHuman or like the tears and what the blood, sweat, and tears system is in Star Citizen. They want to do this other thing. Then this foundation would be able to say, hey, okay, you're doing some graphics research or some simulation research that no one's done before. Here's a sum of money to do that research. Just so it does that more companies could be in on this, trying to get more tech. I'm totally up for that. CIG should start a foundation like Blender did. Absolutely. I don't think CIG has that kind of like mindset other than internally, but I would totally go for that. A lot of people point to CIG and say I don't trust them for this, that, and the other reason. I don't have that problem. I trust CIG a lot for a lot of things. The only thing I don't trust them for is money-making stuff. Like, I trust them for their engineering. Absolutely. 100% trust them for their engineering.
See the water splashes?
And this already is far better than we've seen in other demos. So if we look at like just the edges and the texture, I don't know if you can see the texture through the I'm kind of in the way as well. Of the rubble. If we go to what's that? Is this day one? Yeah. It barely shows it there. And we're too far away there. In the squadron demo. No, just go to the videos. Squadron demo. Shush. Here in this scene.
Alongside our improved AI that can now have hundreds of combat.
The edges look really Play-Doh-y. And this one even has some texture in the break. There are some demos that they showed during CitizenCon where the edges had no texture. So after they broke off, they were just kind of flat colored. So even like within the development of CitizenCon, they were still improving this thing, and it's just wild. The only thing I don't trust CIG for is getting too enthusiastic and promising too early. Absolutely. Timelines, just ask. CIG says a timeline, you say, oh, this is worthless. And you know, just throw away. Absolutely. But I've only been backing for 3 years. Yeah. Just anytime they say any kind of a date, look at it and then put it out of your mind because it's probably not realistic. They've been a lot better. The only people that you should listen to for timelines is the vehicle guys. If they say when a ship's going to be out, you take that and you run exactly to the bank. Apparently, their vehicle pipeline is so good, they've been able to predict a ship's coming out within the day. It is insane. Wow, that texture comment is it? Oh, thank you. It's always when damage simulations go off, for some reason my brain just is like, find the problems. Where is it? But I love physics simulations, and I've been trying to find a way to make a game. It has lots of physics involved. Not as much as it's not like a destruction. It's a sandbox building game, but like destruction is one of those things that I very much enjoy.
We want players' intuitive prediction of the effect a weapon or a collision has to actually happen in the engine or in the game. So we decided to move away from hit point pools or other abstract models to simulate damage, but rather have damage be calculated.
Now, where was that demo? Hold on, I want to find that very early demo. That's nice. Well, physics. Where was that demo? It's probably in one of the not SCL. What are they called? ATVs. It's probably in one of the ATVs. Prime stat. This is atmospheric flight. Optimization. IM 2.0. Where was it? I forget which special thing it was. Where's the original video? Well, here's a video. What? Or not? What did it do? This one, Super Mac Brothers, this was 3 years ago.
Particle apply on the ships look extremely. Wherever your ship is shot, the surface will procedurally record up to 4.
Okay, that's just the texture on it. There's an earlier one. A much earlier one. That one. That's the one. New damage funnel. That is stupid loud. 8 years ago, 2015. So they've been working on this kind of physical damage model for a minute in many different iterations. There's also so I know that like the opening panel was like how are they gonna make this any better? What are they gonna do after this? And like after day one, it was again how are they gonna top this? So like I'm super excited to go back through all of these. Do you have any other examples of destruction in other games we can compare? This looks so good, but don't have a reference. Oh, there's actually some pretty good games that have damage right now. Oh, what was it called? Dwarf Sandbox game. Dwarf Cave Minecraft Dwarf Kingdom? No, not the Highlands. Is it Dwarven Kingdom? No. Dwarven game. There's a game that you're all underground. I think. Is it? It's not that, is it? I saw some people playing it, and then I don't remember what it was. Dwarf. This is why it takes me 3 hours to go over a 1 hour thing. Enshroud, it's probably it. Nope, because that's above ground. Okay, so it has been this. Return. Okay, so I... Hold on a second while Chrome locks up.
What's up, guys?
So what I just want is the name of the game. So I can copy it. There we go. Not helpful. And now, of course, there's nobody like actually like doing B-roll for just destruction. Unhelpful. It's super hard to find like just damage examples in... Well, here's a 2 hour thing, so let's see if we can like skip through here. Gonna break anything? Fighting bad guys. It's just mining. I really wish I was recording when I was watching people play this, because they took out like a wall or a furnace, and then basically the entire building started crumbling down on them. And every once in a while, when the stresses got too high, like, another wall would fall. Okay, gotta take out any of these walls. Gotta break something. Break something, come on. This is his space, obviously. Can I break anything here? No. Super hard to find, apparently. What's the heist game called? What's the heist game called? Teardown. Spray paint.
Get me out, I'm gonna die. Oh my god. Oh god, it really spread. Oh, it really spread. Well, you don't know if you're touching pee or paint any.
Oh, shove it. So this is like basically every pixel is simulated on its own. Wait till it gets to the really crazy stuff. Dang. I love watching this stuff. Sorry, no. It's good to get reference. It's good to understand. So this is like an amount of granularity that they'll never go to. Yeah. And then on the other side, this is kind of simulation that they'll also never go to. No, I just kind of want like an explainer. There we go. Yes, now show it actually being used. There you go. They don't actually show like the actual impacts a lot in here. This is not a very good showcase of their damage system. But there's tons of videos. And this was back 11 years ago. They've since built their own engine for this, so it's no longer on CryEngine 3, which, fun fact, is what CAG is running on. And I think for our last reference, is it the showdown? No, it's the final destruction. So this is a current game that's just about to release. You gonna like play the video? There you go. He knocked the grenade back on them. Whoops. They do have that same problem a lot of physics simulations have, is then when a giant chunk falls off, it doesn't know its own weight. So when it hits the ground, when it's, you know, a wall that hits the ground, it just falls over because it doesn't know like the physics of itself. So it'll hit the ground. What it should do is hit the ground and then have those forces bend it and break it apart as it crumbles all to the ground, because it has that mass internally. And each part of it, each brick, each plank of wood has that physics. But again, that's way higher simulation than anyone can really do at this point. Not sure if it's fair to say that StarEngine is CryEngine 3 anymore. Oh, no, of course not. That's why they call it StarEngine now. After this amount of work, they can't be very much left at all. No, they've removed the networking, they've removed the graphics, they've removed the physics. So, no. Those are the three main parts of an engine. But they're working on the same language. Like, it's the same people who built CryEngine forwarding the engine. So, it's not built in a different kind of... It's built in the same vein. But it's definitely far more advanced. Like it would be like CryEngine, what, like 10, 15 at this point. Yeah, StarEngine, there's a reason they call it StarEngine and not Lumberyard, not CryEngine. Oh, there's a just run through walls mode. Okay. Yeah, so I want to see big environments with Maelstrom is what I want to see.
calculated from a physical model and from the physical.
We've made it about 15 minutes in an hour. It's great.
Properties of each entity. If something breaks off due to its structural integrity decreasing below a certain threshold, Maelstrom allows it to break off in a realistic fashion. If you shoot off a wing, the missiles and weapons on that wing should still remain attached. If the broken off part still has...
Which, not a lot of people probably well, yeah, that's obvious. The problem is, it hasn't been that the way since the original version of the game, when landing gear and things were on the wings, the damaged state of the ship would say, oh, the wing's gone. But it wouldn't say, oh, the weapon's gone because it's on the wing. It was their old damage system, and even current damage system, because I've noticed it in the game right now, lights and things on ships don't disappear when the wing's gone. Everything needs to be tied to this damage system for the ship. And that's what they're doing. Each of these simulations are not, we're going to simulate this in a vacuum and then apply it to the game in a haphazard way. Everything is dynamic, diegetic, and holistic. It's not like the shirts that simulate are not going to be simulated elsewhere, and then that's how it simulates. Like, they're going to just can those simulated animations and then put it in. They're going to react with every piece of clothing you put on, with every piece of clothing you put on, and with every environment and anything you touch. They're not... nothing is going to be canned with all these three simulations, the cloth, the hair, and the destruction here. So it is up to the code for the vehicle teams to say, hey, we need to make sure that the damage system knows what's breaking off. Because that has been the biggest headache for the vehicle team, as far as I know, is when the landing gear break off, when the wing breaks off. Like, there are lights, there are things attached to that most game engines don't keep track of. Because once you put up a light, that light's there. Like, you had to hard code a light, basically, into where it is. And they've been working on dynamic lights like that since before StarEngine came out. Half ship missing, but when you land, landing gear appears out of nowhere. Yep, absolutely. It's ridiculous. And that's one of the things he just said. Like, that is exactly one of the things they want to fix.
Has power, electric items should still function. This means Maelstrom was needed to be designed to work with a hierarchical setup to begin with. From the hierarchical representation of the geometry we want to break off to the same hierarchy on a higher level item for items like power plants, lights, weapon systems, and so on. Maelstrom is persistence and networking ready. We designed it from the ground up to work with high latency situations, to persist and replicate easily. To achieve all this, we gave each physical geometry instance an identifier to be able to uniquely identify it within the universe. So your Gladius wing is your Gladius wing. We added physical material and damage properties that can now be replicated across the network. One of them, and that's the most important one, we call integrity. And this determines how much structural or internal integrity a physical geometry has. Integrity is modified from dissipating, or rather absorbing, energy from kinetic impacts or energy weapons, and also in the future from absorbing energy from external factors like extreme temperature or fire, as you've seen before.
Oh, wow.
We also track which physical part or geometry belongs to which visual geometry and which high-level entity. So if the structural or internal integrity collapses, we know which visual geometry is affected and which item might be affected as well. So a power plant will cease to emit power or implode, explode. A weapon will cease to fire, and so on. To make things break apart, we create what we call breakable clusters. A breakable cluster is a set of physical geometry, the visual geometry, and the entities on top that can break off. Between breakable clusters, we create abstract cantilever beams to be able to model stress and strain. I'll go into more detail in that in a bit. Breakable clusters are
And this is where all the magic happens. This is exactly where that problem with what is where and when it breaks off. I believe this is a ship. I think this is a Gladius. I think. I don't know what that is.
hierarchical. They mirror the hierarchy of all attached entities involved. They also embed the hierarchy of all animated joints. And they also embed the hierarchy of all physical geometries. They essentially represent a ground truth of the entire hierarchy necessary to perform all our goals for Maelstrom. This image is showing a breakable cluster graph of the Gladius.
Yeah. You must have an automated way of building this. I hope so. I certainly hope so. Could you imagine if the teams had to write this? I certainly hope they have a automated way of doing this.
I'd like to show one more video of Maelstrom before we continue.
Some of the particles don't interact with the water. Well, the particles, I should say, don't interact with water.
We needed to find a good way to easily and efficiently determine when a breakable cluster breaks. We chose a well-established model from material sciences and structural engineering, cantilever beams.
Yeah, we just, looked into like mechanical engineering and physics simulations of, industrial equipment to, make our video game better. Simple stuff, right?
In essence, a cantilever is a structural member that has a fixed support and a free end. Forces experienced on the free end can be used to calculate the amount of stress the fixed support is enduring. The basic ideas behind that are best explained from a very simple example. If a ship were to collide with the horizontal part of the crane in the image, far from the vertical part, the fixed support would endure a higher stress.
Yeah, don't expect it
if
normal.
the ship were to collide closer to the vertical part. But not only does the point of impact determine how much stress the cantilever beam experiences, also how large the surface area is connecting the cantilever and the fixed support has a large influence on when a cantilever beam will break. In our case, this actually means we analyze the cross-section of the intersection of the set of geometry from two breakable clusters to calculate the surface area. A wing attached to the body has a rather large connecting surface area compared to the surface area calculated for the stabilizers connected to the body. We then project forces from impacts and explosions onto these cantilever beams and calculate the stress the beams experience. Over time, this stress turns into strain, and if we reach a certain threshold, the beam snaps. The result, simple, efficient, and deterministic breakability. But this is not just about ships and buildings that you saw in the videos before. We want Maelstrom to be a systemic system that we can use on all types of entities. So here's some video of some test footage of AI shooting each other behind breakable cover and Maelstrom barrels.
It sounds like they always intended to use this method. He talks about it in a different way to how they injure his hair. Yeah. Yeah. The hair simulation seems rather new compared to this being a... Oh, it's... Yeah, this demo, like, right here, this doesn't look textured. These... No, these aren't textured. The faces are textured, but, like, there's not a lot of texture there. If there is any. Like, this seemed like a pretty early demo. Or, I guess, earlier than we've seen so far. And this specifically is one of those things that, like, in here has no texture.
Physical material properties influence damage and breaking and have a direct influence to how things break and fracture. To achieve this, we added various properties: density, yield strength, resilience, thickness, toughness, Young's modulus. And this is more or less what I wanted to talk about Maelstrom, but I don't want to leave without showing one more video of what carnage Maelstrom can create.
Which is another ship demo. Now, the one question I had from this panel was, does it apply to trees? And he said he wanted to apply this to lots of different things. But imagine crashing on the heavily forested parts of... Or shooting someone down over one of the heavily forested part of Microtech, and they crash in the ground into the forest. Currently, those trees are, you know, unobtainium, like, just absolutely immovable objects. So the ships will, like, bounce around them and get stuck on them. Are they going to apply it to the trees to where you can break the trees when you crash? Which also has a lot of different implications. Again, are we going to be able to use the trees as resources for crafting purposes, for that survival mechanics that Chris wants, that you can go from nothing on a planet to being able to leave the planet by playing a survival game? What happens if someone goes to a planet and bombs away all the forests? Is there a wildlife preservation entity in the UE? That's just from, like, can trees break? That's only that question. Because they want stuff to be persistent. I would imagine it definitely would plant trees. Think about it. They want to planetary fire. Yeah, like, do you want forest fires and trees to break? How do you preserve forest areas? Like, just those three things: persistence, forest fires, and breakable trees. Like, how do you... How? I don't even know if they even thought about that yet. Imagine taking an A1, an A2, and just carpet bombing a forest. What, like, there are so many implications to this. Are they going to have some game rules that say, hey, this is a wildlife preserve, don't bomb here or something? Like, maybe you have to, like, maybe it's one, like, if there's a mission within the forested area, within a preserved area, you have to go in very specifically. You have to be on the ground. You have to, you know, take handguns, not vehicle guns or anything, because you'll hurt the environment. Like, I want to hear that side of this entire argument. Like, the tech is amazing, but the implications are way more... well, not more interesting. Just as interesting. I mean, that's not difficult. Just not difficult, right? Just fly in full gun trees if they want to, but they're will also increase your flying crime stat, stuff like that. Crime stat eventually is going away. Like, crime stat is not a system that we're going to be on for the next 5 years. Or at least it won't be anywhere in the same form, because the doing stuff once is going to get you in trouble. It won't kill you, basically. And the game will then be out to get you. It's not going to be like it's going to be reputation based, not crime stat based. Is what I mean. Like, so bombing a forest would probably have to be some sort of negative reputation with Microtech. So you'd be caught for, or you'd be out for. They would post a negative bounty thing, whatever, to get you because of that. I can't words anymore. It's fine. So it'd be a negative reputation. It wouldn't necessarily be instant crime stat. That's what I'm trying to get. But I really want to see what their plans are for forest fires on wooded planets and how they're going. Like, you could just say that flying new trees. That's fine. From where? Is there a tree factory somewhere that they're just like spawning trees constantly? Are they moving them from a different part of the planet? If so, then the place over there has less trees now. Are they flying them from off planet? Well, then that planet needs to have less trees on it. And it's a much bigger question than just shipping trees. Because they want this highly persistent world.
So,
and now we're on to audio. And this time I'm wearing headphones. The first time I was not.
so thank you very much. And with that, I'd like to hand over to Benoit.
Woo! This time I might actually be able to hear the difference between the guns.
All right. I am not this person, but I'm filling in with him. So far, I mean, you guys think this is going to change your game up to now? All these new features?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So we've seen updates from fire, water, we've just seen force, we've seen sun and light. So the next thing that's left to build a ludicrous space game is audio. And so I'll leave you with Graham, who's going to show you some of the new audio enhancements we bring to StarEngine to make it even more realistic than it is now.
Hi CitizenCon, Graham here. Good to see you. Recently in the audio team, we've been looking at how we can create a greater psychological connection and emotional impact within our games through the use of improved audio technology. Audio can play a crucial role.
Now, I know, like, I don't know if it's because they're audio guys or because the editing team got super, not the video team got super overly anxious about this, but his noise gate is so distracting because there's a noise floor when he's talking, and then the second he starts talking, it's cut and there's silence. Like the attack on the gate is so harsh. Not the attack, was it? Delay? The delay on the gate is so harsh that it almost cuts off his last little sound. So any trail offs are cut. And those trail offs mean a lot to language. So it's very distracting that it just cuts to silence every time he's at the end of a sentence.
In the immersion of the player. And with that in mind, the audio code and technical sound design teams have been looking at all of our tech from the ground up. For example, when you're under threat, you should feel a real sense of danger. When you're armed, you should feel the dangerous power that you hold within your hands. Earlier this year, we showed you our resonance tech, which allows us to bring the action much closer to the player even when they're deep in the bowels of a ship and far away from where all the hits and the explosions are happening. But that's just one part of a much larger push to create a better, more immersive audio experience. With that in mind, let's take a look at some of the tech we've been working on. First, let's listen to some of our weapon sounds in action. They're a great simulation, but we wanted to take them further and express the sound pressure, the forces being exerted. Our new in-house audio effects, particularly the multiband compressor, tuned by our sound designers, give us this result. The compression serves to illustrate the power of the weapons and the effect that they have when going beyond the limits of the listener.
Oh, wow. That does do
Let's
a
show you
lot
the
of
same
stuff.
audio effects applied to the ship weapons, taking us from this to this.
Dang. Now, I know this is a lighting bug. So, lighting guys, the muzzle flashes from here should not be reaching into the in between these two nacelles.
But it's not just about feeling powerful. Changes in audio can create a sense of danger, of being out on your own and under threat. Here's an example of ship combat. Sounds good, but what if we wanted a little more realism?
It's terrifying. It's just absolutely terrifying.
The audio propagation tech that we've been rolling out makes it easier to change the soundscape in real time, and a nice use of that technology is to provide a more realistic option. Here, your own weapons resonate through the hull of the ship, only what's in the pressurized cockpit is heard clearly, and the threat level feels higher due to the isolating lack of enemy weapon and ship audio.
Yeah, it does. And there was a dev response about it saying that if they do go in this direction, it will definitely be an option. It will not be this kind of audioscape will not be a forced option, I guess. It will be an option between the kind of sounds, the arcadey soundscape and the realistic soundscape, which Space Engineers did the same exact thing. So I'm good. Anything they want to do with this, I'm absolutely good because making that option. And I don't know if I'd play with it or not. I think it would make being on a planet way more substantial, being able to like hear distance than in space, and you just like you're very alone. I think planets will be a much better spot with this realistic mode.
Making these changes creates space in the audio, both spectrally and temporally, making impacts seem bigger, more damaging, more of a problem for the player. This realistic mode isn't limited to the flight experience, it's applied appropriately to the game as a whole. Here's an FPS battle in a depressurized area. With realistic mode, we get that sense of isolation again, giving the location a different colour and adding variety to the audio experience. Player breathing and foley are exaggerated, and other sounds are transmitted through physical contact.
I think this kind of a thing in VR again, because I love the idea of VR in this game, would be something just wild.
That's all from us for now. We look forward to getting these new audio features into your hands.
All right, we're gonna take a quick break, and then we'll be right back. I don't have a really break. I need to make a break. Slide. I don't have one currently, so be right back. Let's not forget to turn back on the mic. Let's eat this little chocolate bar as they introduce the next one.
All right. Hello, everyone.
Whoops, they left two mics open.
Persistent entity streaming, replication layer, and beyond. My name is Paul Reindel. I'm Director for Online Technology. And I'm going to show you a little bit insight in our technology for persistent entity streaming and the replication layer. I thought about what's the best way to show you something about that tech. And I thought about putting some technical drawings on the slides, or maybe show video like we did 2 years ago. But really, the best way to show
How's
you
it
how
picking it up?
persistent entity streaming works is to give you a live demonstration. And that's
Has
what
there
I'm
been an
going to
echo
do.
all stream?
All right. So this will all be
Interesting.
live, so please bear with me if there's any glitches. So let's keep this rolling. I think I'm supposed to press the button. No, it's already switched. Before we start, a little
No
bit.
echo for me?
I just
Interesting.
give you a little bit an overview.
The
of what
OBS
you see
bars,
here.
the audio bars are mirroring
Set
each
up
other a bit.
everything. One moment.
So is this the last part?
So on this left side, you will see
Yeah.
my client window. And on the bottom side, you will see the server renderer. So for this demonstration, and I start a second client, I'm just stopping that. Sorry about that. This is live.
I think it's hilarious. He gets the main menu, but still puts in the command because quit game at the bottom. Like,
Client.
he could have just hit quit game. Like, he could just hit right there. But no, he still opens it up and like, such a developer. Such the developer. Like, if you asked him to find the quit button, he probably would take a second to find it. It's hilarious. Developers are great. It's right. It's right.
This is live. All right. So again, on this side, you see the client. And he just logged out because I started a second client. So let's do this again. One more time. On this side, you see the server renderer, which is currently
He has the small smell of Linux all over it.
it has nothing streamed in. I'm showing a small demonstration level.
None of these windows.
And on this side, you see
Either it's Windows 11 or some form of Linux, because that's a rounded corner on the edge, and I don't think. Yeah, Windows 10 has sharp corners, so it's definitely not Windows 10. I can smell the command line coming up.
see the entity graph, which is our online database. That's powering what you see in persistent entity streaming, what you play since 3.18. And I also have some metrics on the screen which shows the entity graph worker, the requests per minute, per second, the mutations, and you also will see entities created and destroyed once I do that. All right, so let's wait for my client to come up and join this level. So the first thing that will happen when I join this level, you will see on that server, everything streams in, and my client gets connected and also streams in everything on the client view. What would happen on the behind the scenes is that my player just got unstowed into that chart, and we at real time created everything for this player. So you will see his body is attached to the player. You will see his mobi-glass, his head with all his customizations, his undersuit, and then all his customizations as well on the undersuit. What you also see is that this player just got unstowed and attached to a static zone object container. And this is how our zone system works. Basically, on the server, you will see 3 different zones, purple, green, and red. And each zone comes with its own coordinate system and its own physical grid. And this is how we actually, on live, do zone transitions between your ship, empty space, space station, or a planet. And you will see, as I walk between those zones, I will, at real time, update it in that entity graph. And this all happens seamless. So for a client, this is completely transparent. You don't notice that. But this is actually what's happening when you step in or out into a ship. And this is very unique to our engine. No other engine has this zone system. And that allows us to do all the amazing stuff you saw in the videos before, transitioning in and out of planets and go from the smallest scope to the largest scope. So everything.
So it seems like these zones are the secret sauce. You could say they are the Krabby Patty recipe. The 7 herbs and spices. The Pink Panther diamond. The 007 of CIG. It seems that way, yeah. But, so, it's also important to note that server meshing, like, hold on. Search popularity? Google Trends, that's what it's called. Is there an all? Like an all worldwide past ever. Interesting. So yeah, so not new. So in 2004 was a spike in the first half of the in 2004. And then again in 2006, and then again in 2006. What was the note? Ah, improved air collection. Australia, interesting. What the heck happened in Australia? I wonder. So I wonder what that's about. Survival. No idea why it showed up. Huh. No idea what that is. Not something relevant. All right, so server meshing. I don't really know how to... Okay, so basically, let's just get canvas here so I can draw on it so I can explain it a little bit easier. Where did it go? Oh, here. All right, it doesn't want me to touch anything. There we go. So being able to transition between different zones is nothing new. Obviously, they've done this in many, many, many games. And specifically World of Warcraft did it a lot. I've heard that even Ultima Online did it. But even single player games do this. What they're showing here. So what they're showing here is just load zones basically. Like even single player games do this now, where and let's just kind of add to our zones because it will be relevant. So if we're here, then these zones are not loaded in. So they're just out there. And key bindings are not working. There we go. And in a server, you can have A world map split up into different servers. And then there'll be these transition periods, these gates or whatever, that the character will then walk through, and in here is the load zone. Yeah, but he literally just said no other engine has the zones. Yes, other engines do meshing without the zones. A lot of other games have lots of other things they do to get you across the board. The difference is what they're doing across the border. So this example is what most games have right here. Is there is a this with a load screen in between. Like Skyrim has this, right? When you go up to Whiterun and say enter Whiterun, you have these two areas of the map. In between is a load screen. And some more MMOs, there'll be servers over a certain area. So you have your server that encompasses the entire like spawn area, the low-level area. And then the next map over will be a higher level area or a mid-level area, and you'll actually load out of that zone into another server, being that higher zone. So the zone system that they've come across here is going to be important, I think, in a lot of other games going forward, because I think it solves more problems than they were expecting to. Because all they were doing is looking for a way to efficiently get a maximum amount of density out of their entities at the beginning, and they've updated it to where now all the stuff that needed to be done for the whole sea and ship items, where you can now at runtime connect items onto this zone, not only rooms but also they can transfer data between zones, and that's very important to what we're going to be watching. And they're going to be using this system that they can break up, and I think that's the point that it differentiates what other games do in this zone system. In traditional games, as far as I know, not a network engineer, so take everything I say with a grain of salt. In a traditional game, you say this map is on this server, and you have to load into this server, that map on this server, and vice versa on all the other servers. The entity system can say this is a zone, can be attributed to any server it wants to be, wherever the devs say that server should go. And then if the devs so choose it, it can transition. So it's no longer... So traditionally, like a zone on a traditional game would be an entire server. And they're saying we have this zone system that's not a server system, but it's an independent zone. And that zone can do way more things than an entire server can do, or a server-based zone could do. And for this demo, they talk about how if you're over in the purple area, they can load out zones entirely, so the server doesn't even have to worry about it.
We do in a shot. So this is like a mini level, like the mini PU level, is also persisted in this database. When we create new entities in our engine, in StarEngine, those entities get pushed into our entity graph, into our online database at real time, and then from there replicated to our clients. So if I go ahead and spawn a couple of plushies here, you will see they spawn, they get created immediately on my entity graph and replicated on the server and on the client. So let's spawn a couple more here.
Plushies.
And you see the Pengus I spawn in the other zone get attached to the other zone. And then if I go and transition one of those, they will also transition between the different zones.
Which is also really important. Like, there's no load screens, there's no barrier between these zones. Which, traditionally, there would be. Like, a level in Portal, right? You would finish a level, you'd go in the elevator, you'd do a quick load screen to the next level. I think they normal portal levels had 2 levels per load. But you can't like transition. You can't throw something across a load barrier because it has no way of transitioning that. That's the magic of the zone system. Is it's not such a rigid structure. They're not load screen structures. They're not independent simulations of each other.
The same works for ships or more complex entities. If I spawn this buggy here, you will see this one gets created with all its attachments and everything else attached to it. And this is just my small demo level here. On live, we have up to 600,000 dynamic entities that get created for one single shard. And this is just the initial state. After 2 weeks, 3 weeks of gameplay, when you guys go in and destroy stuff, spawn stuff, play around, it goes in the millions of entities. So this in itself is pretty amazing tech. The next time I want to talk about is our streaming system. Most engines do stream on texture or geometry. We actually stream entities, and we do stream persistent entities. So when I turn on the streaming system here and I walk into this, if I walk over to the red area, you will see that the purple area will stream out together with all the entities on that server. So it does not only stream out on my client, it actually streams out on that server. And when I come back in the green zone, that purple zone streams back in with all the entities in there with their full persistent state. So now I have a second player joined. Benoit is going to join me.
Hold on.
Have a state together with all the entities on that server. So it does not only stream out.
None of the items are going away, though. Yeah, that's just a player transitioning. Where are... Which ones are the pengus? So they are streamed out but not forgotten. Okay, so the server still knows that these things are over here. I assume this is purple guy right here, because this has the vehicle on it and this has the player on it. Oh, this is that, then that. I'm not sure anymore. I'm pretty sure this is purple guy. 4 plushies and nothing else. Anyway. So it still knows that they're there. It's still preserve, and that's probably the persistent part he was talking about. It preserves the graph state.
Out on my client, it actually streams out on that server. And when I is in there, so now I have a second player joined. Benoit is going to join me. So Ben, if you want to join, okay, I think we see him over there. Hey Ben. Sorry. Nice. All right, I'm going to spawn a couple more penguins here. Because the next thing I want to talk about is new technology we are right now developing, and we are about to put on the tech preview for you to play. And this is actually the replication layer split.
Okay, so this is green.
And that's the big next.
Yeah, they have to be remembered, otherwise the objects can't be replicated. Right. Yeah. Like I said, not a network engineer. This panel is probably the hardest one for me to comprehend, or this section is the hardest for me to comprehend.
Step in our great vision, obviously, as you might know. So in this demo, my client and my servers, they are no longer directly connected. Actually, I have a new service running here. and that is our replication service. So my client is connected to this replication service, and my server is connected to this replication service. And the replication service, the sole purpose is to get all the entities which are in the entity graph and stream them to clients and servers which are connected to. And what's really cool about this is, let's do a little experiment here. I mean, you all know our game has bugs. It's still alpha, and sometimes things can happen. So let's see what's happening when I kill my server here. So this is my server, the actual console. So let's just shut it down. And yes, this is where you would usually see a 30K or something. You can see Benoit kind of froze there for a bit. And the buggy does a bit weird stuff. I can shoot those pingus, but the world is really in a frozen state right now. But I didn't disconnect, because I'm connected to the replication layer and not to the server anymore. In the meantime, I'm just starting a new server. Let's be a bit patient for it. Should come back online in a second. And as you can see, now that the server came back.
So all of his stuff after, even though he was connected to the replication layer, went back to the last time the server lived. I think that's very important. You can't do anything in the downtime. Because I was thinking, like, what happens with the penguin state? Could somebody do some weird stuff in between the server, like, basically in that, like, zombie area of the server, and basically, like, do a time warp thing where the server just kind of catches up real fast? No, it just goes back to the time when the server was the one having authority, instead of just a zombie area where nothing is real.
It restored the state. It restored the state, and the simulation just continues to work as before. So this will be, again, this is very early tech, but this is a great benefit of what we have with our replication layer split. But there's one more thing. And let's try this thing again. I just killed my server, and I'm trying to do that again. But this time, we're doing something different. So let's first go in here. This is my development tool. I can talk about it in a second. So let's stop that server again.
It stopped.
And restart.
I knew this. I knew he was doing this when I saw it. Like, hey, I see that. DGS mesh 0, 1, and 2.
This will take a little bit. I'm running this tool you see here. This is our internal development tool. This tool runs the entire stack of our game on this PC. This is obviously for development only, and I can do that with my small test level. But this really helps online devs and all people who work on the incredible, complicated tech we hear to be able to develop our game. And because I run everything on this PC, it's a bit slow. So let's wait and see what's happening here. All right. Simulation continues. I can see Ben moving again. Hey, Ben. However, what just happened? Well, as you can see on my screen, I no longer have one server connected. I have 3 servers connected to this replication layer. So what you guys see here, this is the very first version of a working server mesh. All right. So now I'm going to explain a little bit how this magic works, because
So apparently this only came together within like a week before, and they weren't planning on showing this. I think before last month before StarEngine, and like, no, we actually want to show something, and so they worked hard to get this demo ready for StarEngine. And before this demo, they have not had a version of it working so well. So, is what I've heard. So this is a monumental achievement to have this demo running. Also, he's about to answer a lot of questions I had, being what happens when you look across servers, whether that be players or entities, what happens in interaction, can I shoot something across a border, can I drive across borders, what is it like to transition, and he doesn't do the kind of like valley servers that I want to see, because that's what Dual Universe did. If you're looking over a valley and there's a grid of servers in front of you, how many servers can you see through and maintain the updating, basically? How many servers can you see across with updates?
It is truly magic. Each server, when it came up and the replication area realized there are 3 servers, we assigned different zones to those servers. And we said, okay, server 1, you are the authority over the purple area. Server 2, you are the authority over the green area. And the last server is authoritative over the red area. You can still see that those servers have all those entities replicated, but only the entities within their zone are actually authoritative on that server. So while I'm in this green zone at the moment, my entity is simulated on that green server and just replicated on the other server. And now, as I transition between those zones, you will see that on that green server, I just lost authority, and on that purple server, I just gained authority. And because my player was replicated on both servers, this completely works seamless. And again, let's do that a couple of times. You see on my client here, I don't notice anything of that. This all happens behind the scene.
Jeez.
And this doesn't work only on me. Let's turn on the zone colors and the object, the authority assignment on the client as well. You can see that even entities, as they transition into the other zone, seamlessly transition to that zone. And not only that, I can also interact with entities that are on the other side. So if I go on this green zone, for example, and I shoot this, I can still shoot that purple entity. And I can also just go ahead and destroy that buggy which sits on that other zone.
So basically, there is no player, what's the word? Noticeability between to look over a server border. There's nothing there. The players will not be able to perceive that, though. There would be no player perception of these server borders, assuming bugs don't happen. It's wild.
Yeah, always fun to blow stuff up, right? All right. So there's more to this. The first thing I will do, let's spawn a fresh buggy. I just destroyed mode 1. When I go into this buggy, I will become part of the aggregate. And that means that now my buggy and myself will transition authority together. And this is how we make sure that my player, while he's driving this buggy, is always authoritative on the same server. So you can see, as I drive around with this buggy between the zones, I will switch between the different servers. All right. But there's more to this. So remember when I turned on the streaming earlier? The same streaming mechanics work here as well. Like, obviously, in this example right now, you can see all those servers, they have all those entities replicated.
There's a pengu over here.
And it's a little bit wasteful because you have 3 servers, all need to replicate all those entities. And that's where streaming come into play. I can turn on streaming here, and you will see that suddenly my purple server no longer has the red area streamed in, and the red server no longer has the purple area streamed in. So let's see what's happened when I drive my buggy backwards into that red, into the red zone. What happens on that purple server? And I just disappear. So right now, on this server,
And this is the thing that's going to gain us so much performance. Nothing from this purple server onto this red server, nothing exists over there. The server doesn't need to know about it. Whether it's a player, whether it's a ship, Pengu, doesn't matter. So this server only needs to know what's in its vicinity. No longer is the server running the entire everything all the time. And it is massive. This actually makes sense with the replication layer because the representation is so pared down in the layer. When the DGI seeks information on authority, it's so fast that it just is imperceptible to the player. Yes. Like, that is the magic of graph data sets. It is... I don't know how graph data works, but I want, like, Windows to use it for File Explorer. Like, let's see if it will show up on the right thing. Like, this is how long it takes for my desktop to show up. I want it to be graph based. Can files be on graph based now? It's so fast.
there's only Benoit replicated. And Benoit, if you come to me over in the red area,
Bloop.
you will see that now on this server, there's no client at all. And in theory, we could now completely stream out the entire area on that server, or stream in a new area.
Massive. Absolutely massive.
And you will also see, as I drive back into the green area, I will magically reappear on that purple server. And this obviously works on the other side as well. Let's get a couple more player join. I have a couple more QA in the back, so you can just see the whole thing running at live. Running in live with a bit more things going on. Let me get out of this buggy. And you will see on each server renderer which clients are currently replicated on those servers and which clients are actually authoritative on those servers. And you can see this, the green server, because it's the middle one, has most entities replicated. And then you can see this purple one at the moment only has one client replicated.
Yeah, 0.
Yeah.
Well, it's authoritative.
So yes, this is pretty much it.
As we could be looking at hundreds of players
I
on a
hope
single
you
server
guys
in
enjoyed
very short
this.
period, short
Um,
space of time. Yes.
It has been a long time to come to this point, and I just can't put in words how much tech and work we had to put into this. Big shout outs to the network team, big shout outs to the online services team, big shout outs to Chris to let us doing this.
It's been a really long journey to get to this point. And I've got to say, the team has done an amazing job. They've been working diligently for the last 4, 5.
Like before the end of the next year, I almost guarantee it. So we're gonna pull out my favorite prediction again. Where did I put it? Here we go. So this is my prediction of the next 9-ish months. Eyes super itchy right now for some reason. We exist about halfway through. Well, not even halfway. We're a week plus into November. So, i.e., we're going to be getting live here in about a week's time. That'll put us around the half of November. So this is a bit early. I didn't know what day it was going live, so I just somewhere in November. And And if you could go right there, we go. The replication layer I have starting at that time. We don't know when the replication layer test channel is going to open up. But they keep saying how not bad it's going to be. So it should, I think the replication layer split is going to have a very short test life cycle. And I believe they did mention how the replication layer and crash recovery are not necessarily linked, but very close related. So I don't know if we'll be testing the crash recovery in its own test channel. We could. I don't have it on here. I have no idea about it, so I didn't have it on here. We have a 322 coming at the end of the year. I think this prediction currently is a bit optimistic that we get the server meshing test channel in 322. But I do predict that we don't see a 4.0, a server meshing, before July. Moving in July. Basically, even the Q2 update is not going to be 4.0. I'm pretty sure about that. So we have about 2 weeks of vacation that CIG takes, or at least the majority of CIG takes at the beginning of the year. Big dev break at the end. And then we have about a month of scheduling, as CIG does. Like, company-wide scheduling. They fly everyone around the world, making sure that all relevant stakeholders and all relevant features have the most updated schedules, and they see the year moving forward, and they kind of rejigger what stuff's going to come out when. And a lot of information gets out the quarter or 2 quarters after that, and what they exactly hope to accomplish in the next year. Oh, the roadmap looks basically the most healthiest after that. And then, so I would probably, me now, not me then, but me now would say that we get probably a server meshing test channel in 323. Because of the month and a half they have to release 323, basically. I think we'll get a server meshing test channel here. I mean, the test channel does not have to be linked to a patch. It could come out here. It could come out here. It could come out here. Doesn't really matter. It doesn't have to be attached to a major patch, because it's its own PT. They'll spin it up when they want to. So it could be a couple weeks after, 5 weeks after, 3 months after. It doesn't matter. But yeah, this is the earliest, but I think it will be the Q3. 4.0 is going to be a Q3 patch, is what I think. And with 4.0, we're going to have server meshing, and we're going to have higher player caps. Even with the replication layer, we may get some higher player concurrency.
Years, we've had a couple of false starts. We finally have an incredible, the way the replication layer works and how we can spin up servers and down and keep the state constant, even if a server goes down, is, I think, a genius design. And the first time I saw this, about 3 weeks ago, working fully, I cried. It's like giving birth.
We did it!
And we wouldn't have been able to do this and work on this kind of tech without all your support.
That's right.
100%.
Now, you guys
And your trust.
allowing us to take the time to do it right, to really build it. So thank you.
Thank you, guys.
So much for everyone, and thank you everyone at CIG that's really worked hard to deliver all this amazing stuff that will be either in your hands now or in your hands very soon. And this is just the beginning of CitizenCon. We got a lot more stuff to show you.
Yeah.
That's what we need for this MMO, guys. That's what we need.
Great demo, by the way.
All right. We have finally made it to the end. Oh boy. So, we'll be back tomorrow, but we'll be back Friday. Finally. Starting back on the next... There we go. Navigating the Universe panel is what we'll be doing on Friday. That is a... That's only 48-minute. We'll probably easily do the next panel in the next stream. It took me about So that 5.5 hours to get through this panel. Jesus said that means unique. Yeah, it's very unique. Yeah. Yeah. Everything here is absolutely massive. So, thank you everyone for coming. It's been a really great stream. Like I can't emphasize that enough. It's been an amazing stream. And I look forward to Friday coming back and talking about the UI map and all the things, and seeing what more gems we can pull out of it. So yeah, I'll see you all there, and as always, be kind, everyone. Bye, guys.